Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And you know, just yesterday we were talking about how the pension funds were getting pretty ratty with the government because the government was threatening to start looting those pension funds to pay off the debt of state-owned enterprises, which is obviously going to be a bad debt on the books of the pension funds. And they were making the point that if the government actually had some major construction projects happening which could become profitable, they would be right in there investing in that. And they said they should be able to choose where they want to invest. And they said, unfortunately, the construction industry in South Africa is pretty well dead now. This is what the pension fund said. Do you know why it's pretty well dead now? Because of the ANC government not paying their bills. While the MECs, the members of parliament, get all these lavish payments for everything and anything, and they are holding on to them for dear life. And they never have their payments been late, but not so good for the construction industry. Let me tell you a bit more. Government currently owes construction and building industry contractors about 5.5 billion rand, and recent business failures and job losses in the sector have been blamed on non-payment or a late payment of contractors. Roy Mnisi, Executive Director of Master Builders South Africa, or MBSA, says this practice by government departments and government entities is the number one challenge facing the industry. Mnisi says there has been no improvement in this area year on year, despite government ministers in the built environment and even President Cyril Ramaphosa talking about the issue. We see no action on the ground to see that contractors are paid within the 30-day period after invoicing, as stipulated by National Treasury regulations. Mnisi adds that situations where non-payment or delayed payment is the result of a query on an invoice are isolated instances. The majority of cases are, he says, where the work has been completed, but for one or other reason, the government department or entity is unable to pay. The Construction Industry Development Board, CIDB, has reported that 60% of payments to contractors are delayed for longer than 30 days after invoicing. MBSA in January last year postponed a planned class action court application against the government to recoup billions owed to its members for work done for municipalities, provincial and government departments and state-owned enterprises, to engage with National Treasury in a last-ditch attempt to resolve the problem. Mnisi says National Treasury highlighted some of the reasons for the non-payments and late payments during a meeting with MBSA earlier this year. The reasons include bad budgeting, a lack of proper financial management in the department or government entity. The big one, the elephant in the room, corruption. And finally, the lack of consequence management. And what they're actually saying here is that you've got incompetent people or corrupt people who are actually managing the projects from the government side. They don't know what they're doing. So the consequences are pretty obvious. Anyway, the lack of consequence management point means managers who sit with invoices and fail to comply with Treasury's requirement that they pay them within the 30-day period face no consequences. They should actually be fired. Mnisi says the reasons provided for departments and government entities struggling to pay invoices within 30 days are unacceptable to MBSA because they involve efficiencies that ought to exist in any government institution. Exactly my point. BEE at work. This is why the ANC government is imploding. He says the payment issue has been the direct cause of many of MBSA's members going into business rescue and in some instances filing for final liquidation, with the company citing non-payment as one of the reasons they have had to close shop. Listed construction companies in business rescue include Group 5, Basil Reed and Essor, while others, including Avenge, have experienced severe financial difficulties. Now, Group 5 alone employs about 3,500 people, and they've basically closed up shop in South Africa because of non-payment of their bills. Nisi says many subcontractors rely on payments from the main contractor, and if these payments are not made, they cannot pay their employees or suppliers. Suppliers then often apply for liquidation of the company so they can get a little of the money they are owed, resulting in the company's employees losing the jobs, he added. Majuti Kogoli, president of the Black Business Council in the Built Environment, told MBSA's Congress last week it laments the state of the construction industry, largely because contractors in the main don't exercise their rights in terms of their contracts. He said, "For me, this is the biggest problem. Most of the contracts that are used for construction do have payment and claiming clauses and have a lot of things, including extension of time. But we find that for some reason contractors are not exercising that right in terms of their contracts. Contractors normally say they're a little bit scared to exercise their rights because they will not get the second contract from the client." In reference to projects being disrupted and stopped by business forums or the construction mafia, Kogoli said he believes this is a myth. Well, I've seen plenty of evidence, and there's plenty of evidence on this channel, of where this construction mafia have gone in and totally destroyed construction sites. They've gone in with AK-47s and things like that. It's just absolutely shocking. And burnt cars and trucks and, crazy. Kogoli stressed that contractors could not go into a community and start setting up camp and militarizing the site, adding that many years ago there was a process to engage all the stakeholders in the area before moving onto a site. What he's trying to suggest is you've got to go and negotiate first with the construction mafia who want 30% of the bill just for protecting you. Give me a break. However, Joseph Montesezzi, president of the National Union of Mine Workers, says the business forums or construction mafia exist because some projects have been stopped, and he's exactly right. Montesezzi agreed that consultation is very important, but said these people do not need to take the law into their own hands by stopping projects that are intended to bring about service delivery in that particular geographical area. He said, "It must be condemned, and the government must take action against these people because they are not legally operating to bring whatever economic assistance to the communities." Thembinkosi Nzimande, past president of the South African Forum of Civil Engineering Contractors, says it is painful to see that some companies would not have gone into liquidation if 2 or 3 of their major clients had paid them. People don't understand the human impact of liquidation and retrenchments. For certain officials to withhold payment to a company that was literally borderline and that could have been saved, is a blight on all South Africans. This is one thing we have to solve. Nzimande said there are 2 lessons from the large companies that have survived and those that have collapsed. Those that thrive seem to have evolved to infrastructure developments as opposed to pure construction. A lot of companies that have a balance sheet where they own and operate projects seem to have survived, while many companies that are highly dependent on expenditure by government are experiencing a lot of problems. So, all roads lead to Rome. The ANC government and its complete incompetence is destroying jobs in South Africa. Alright guys, please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates. Please like this video and above all, stay safe. Bye for now.